18 months in Iraq changes a man. Every sunrise, every grain of sand becomes part of who you are. But nothing prepared me for what I saw the day I came home. My grandfather's lakefront cabin, the one I'd spent my childhood summers in, was gone. In its place stood 3 luxury villas, pools glimmering where pine trees once stood. A black iron gate blocked the dirt road that led to the lake, and a polished metal sign declared, Lake Vista HOA, private property. I thought it was a mistake. My GPS showed the same address, my family's land. But when I drove through the half-open gate, a security guard in a crisp polo approached. His name tag read Kyle, HOA security. He told me I was trespassing on Lake Vista property. I told him this was my land, inherited after my grandfather passed in 2019. He said I was mistaken. Minutes later, a black Lexus rolled in. Out stepped Gwendolyn Ashford, HOA president, her heels clicking like authority itself. She smiled, the kind that hides knives, and showed me a leather folder. Inside were deeds, permits, rental contracts, all signed by me. Except I hadn't signed a thing. Every signature was mine, my handwriting, my initials, but I'd been deployed overseas the entire time. Someone had built an empire on my land, and they'd used my name to do it. That night, I checked into a motel 6 miles away. I called my sister Bryn, a civil lawyer, sharp as a blade. She listened quietly, then said she'd be there by morning. When she arrived, we went straight to the county recorder's office. The clerk printed out the deed transfer. June 15th, 2023, from Deacon Fletcher to Lake Vista HOA Incorporated. The signature was mine. We're close enough to fool anyone. Bryn pointed out a small detail. The hook on the capital F was off. I told her the signature was forged. The clerk shrugged. Then you'll need to hire a lawyer, he said. Outside, Bryn was furious. She noticed the notary's name, Willa Beaumont, and promised to find her. The email listed on the deed was fletcher.properties.llc@protonmail.com. I'd never seen that address. Someone had created it in my name. By evening, we had a plan. Find who forged the documents, trace the money, and prove I never sold the land. We needed an investigator. I called Holden Merrick, a former NYPD detective who specialized in fraud. If someone had orchestrated this, they'd made it personal, and I was ready to fight back. The next day, Bryn and I visited the HOA office. Gwendolyn greeted us with that same polished smile, flanked by 2 board members, Sterling Radcliffe, a former county employee, and Francine Gable, the accountant. Sterling. The name hit me like a flashback. He'd been the one who sent me a water quality survey in 2022, right before my deployment, a legitimate county form I'd signed. They'd stolen my real signature from that document. I laid out my proof, my grandfather's will, property tax receipts, deployment orders. Gwendolyn barely glanced at them. She claimed I'd sold the property fairly and must be misremembering due to deployment stress. When I mentioned the survey Sterling sent me, his eyes flickered just for a second. That told me everything. I started recording. Gwendolyn demanded I stop. I didn't. She threatened to call security. Bryn calmly told her we'd be filing for an injunction and a full audit. As we left, I overheard Gwendolyn whisper to Sterling, check if he's hired a lawyer yet, and tell Waverly immediately. That name, Waverly, stuck in my mind. That night, I dug through county records. Conrad Waverly, circuit court judge. Before being elected, he'd been the legal counsel for Lake Vista Development LLC, the parent company behind the HOA. Now it made sense. Forged documents, county indifference, block complaints. The whole system was rigged. Bryn agreed. If a sitting judge is tied to this, it's not just fraud, she said. It's corruption. Federal level. We weren't dealing with a few greedy board members. This was an organized ring, using shell companies, fake deeds, and inside help to steal land and launder money through luxury rentals. Holden joined us 2 days later. Calm, observant, old-school investigator. He said the key was the notary. Every fraudulent deed began there. Within hours, he found her. Willa Beaumont, 41, reported missing just weeks after notarizing the fake deed. But she wasn't missing. She was hiding in Mexico. Holden made contact, promised protection, and arranged a video call. Where her face appeared on screen, She looked terrified. She confessed that Sterling Radcliffe had paid her $50,000 to stamp the deed. He told her I'd signed overseas, and she believed him, or wanted to. When she realized the truth, she fled. She still had the evidence. Text messages from Sterling, photos of the cash, and proof her debts were clear days later. Bryn promised her immunity if she testified. Willa nodded. I just want to make it right. That was our first breakthrough, a witness who could tie Sterling directly to the forgery. While Holden worked on Willa, Bryn brought in a forensic IT specialist. He analyzed the digital deed and traced its metadata. The document was created on June 10, 2023, in Nevada, using Adobe Acrobat Pro. The IP address matched the registration for Lake Vista HOA Incorporated. He found more. The signature wasn't scanned. It was digitally pasted, a copy of my real one, extracted from the survey form Sterling had collected. Then came the smoking gun. The fake Proton Mail account, the one made in my name, had been accessed from 3 IPs: Nevada, the HOA office, and a downtown law firm specializing in HOA law. Bryn checked the firm's address. It was the same office used by Judge Waverly's former partner. Now we had forgery, identity theft, and digital evidence linking it all back to the HOA and the judge. We took the evidence to the county sheriff's office. The sergeant, Pute, barely glanced at it. He called it a civil matter and said we should hire a lawyer. Bryn argued, showing him the metadata and sworn witness testimony. Pute leaned back and said if we kept making false claims, we'd be the ones charged with harassment. That's when I realized he wasn't lazy. He was compromised. Bryn's jaw tightened. Then we go over his head, she said. Straight to court. She filed an emergency motion to freeze the property and halt all rental operations. Within 2 days, we had a hearing. The assigned judge? Conrad Waverly. The courtroom smelled of polished wood and corruption. Waverly sat high above, wearing the face of a man who already knew his verdict. The HOA's lawyer, slick, expensive, arrogant, argued that I'd sold the land willingly and was now unstable due to combat trauma. Bryn presented the evidence, the forged deed, metadata, Willa's confession, but Waverly barely looked at it. Minutes later, he denied our motion. His ruling was a performance. The deed was presumed valid, my evidence insufficient, and my claims emotionally influenced. As a so-called compromise, he ordered that rental profits be held in escrow, money we couldn't touch. It was a loss wrapped in insult. Outside the courthouse, Bryn seethed. He just protected his own company, she said. That's when Holden called again. He'd found new documents. Margot Waverly, the judge's wife, was the registered agent and co-founder of Lake Vista HOA Incorporated. The judge had presided over a case involving his own wife's company and ruled in her favor. That was it. No more county offices, no more local courts. We went federal. Bryn contacted the nearest FBI field office. The next morning, we drove 2 hours to meet Agent Geneva Caldwell, a corruption investigator. She listened silently as we laid everything out: the forged deed, metadata, witness statements, the judge's conflict of interest, the sheriff's refusal to act. When we finished, she said one sentence that changed everything. You did the hard part. Now it's our turn. Geneva opened a formal investigation that day. Subpoenas were filed for HOA financial records, county communications, and property transfers. Within weeks, agents uncovered millions in hidden accounts, all tied to Lake Vista HOA and its shell companies. Sterling Radcliffe was arrested first, then Francine Gable. Then, under mounting pressure, Gwendolyn Ashford herself. And when federal investigators questioned Judge Waverly, the entire conspiracy unraveled. His ruling was a performance. The deed was presumed valid, my evidence insufficient, and my claims emotionally influenced. As a so-called compromise, he ordered that rental profits be held in escrow, money we couldn't touch. It was a loss wrapped in insult. Outside the courthouse, Bryn seethed. He just protected his own company, she said. That's when Holden called again. He'd found new documents. Margot Waverly, the judge's wife, was the registered agent and co-founder of Lake Vista HOA Incorporated. The judge had presided over a case involving his own wife's company and ruled in her favor. That was it. No more county offices, no more local courts. We went federal. Bryn contacted the nearest FBI field office. The next morning, we drove 2 hours to meet Agent Geneva Caldwell, a corruption investigator. She listened silently as we laid everything out: the forged deed, metadata, witness statements, the judge's conflict of interest, the sheriff's refusal to act. When we finished, she said one sentence that changed everything. "You did the hard part. Now it's our turn." Geneva opened a formal investigation that day. Subpoenas were filed for HOA financial records, county communications, and property transfers. Within weeks, agents uncovered millions in hidden accounts, all tied to Lake Vista HOA and its shell companies. Sterling Radcliffe was arrested first, then Francine Gable. Then, under mounting pressure, Gwendolyn Ashford herself. And when federal investigators questioned Judge Waverly, the entire conspiracy unraveled.